Welcome to lecture number 13 for signals and systems. In today's class, we will be discussing about Fourier series with LTI systems. We discussed about Fourier series of continuous time systems. We also discussed what are LTI systems. Now we are going to see what is the relation of Fourier series and LTI systems when we uh, want to find Fourier series or Fourier coefficients of LTI system, what is at the output end. So in previous class we discussed about discrete Fourier series and properties of discrete Fourier series. We talked about it in a detail. Uh, we said that if there is a system, first of all, Fourier series always works on periodic systems, right? Periodic signals. If signal is not periodic, we cannot apply discrete Fourier series on that signal. Moreover, we also said that the output of the discrete time Fourier series is also always periodic. In contrast to that, we said if there is a continuous time Fourier series, the input is always periodic, but output is a periodic signal, right? So input is continuous and AK coefficients are discrete in values, right? And they are aperiodic, right? Aperiodic. The input signal in continuous time discrete continuous time Fourier series, the input is periodic and continuous, the output is discrete and aperiodic. But in discrete Fourier series, input is discrete as well as periodic, and output is also discrete as well as periodic. So this is a very clear difference between both of these uh, series. You must know in certain exams they are being asked. Okay. Uh, then we also discussed about properties of discrete Fourier series. We talked about that if you know already a known Fourier series and you got an other signal which is a bit related to that signal, then if the signal is a bit shifted or it maybe it is convolved with another signal, maybe it is multiplied with another signal, then if we know the Fourier series of those both signals, then we don't need to find it again, uh, the Fourier coefficients. We just if for example if it is multiplication in time domain, then you need just to multiply convolve those Fourier coefficients and so on. So properties help us in solving these type of problems very easily. In today's class, we will be discussing about discrete Fourier series and its relation with LTI systems, and we will be looking into the introduction of filters as well. What are filters? Why they are being used? And what are various types of filters? Introduction. I have written explicitly introduction means we will not be uh, talking in detail about filtering, but just to give the flavor that how can we use discrete Fourier series or uh, continuous time Fourier series to filter the signal. So if we find time in today's class, we will be also designing filter on MATLAB uh, through its filter designer tool or FTA tool. We will see. So let's start. Before going to the output of LTI system, I want to recap what were eigenfunctions and why we use them. We talked about it in earlier classes that we want to work on the signals which can easily cater broad categories of signals, and they can map many kinds of systems. So for example, if there is an eigenfunction, what does eigenfunction do? When it is applied to an LTI system, it produces the same input signal with certain change in the amplitude, nothing else, right? So the original shape of the signal is preserved and it is amplified with some arbitrary coefficient. Okay, so how do we get it? You know, if you input this signal into a system, for example, if it is an LTI system, then if you put input from one side, you get output that is convolution of this input plus impulse response of this system. So if you convolve them, we know convolution is found by this equation, or we can easily find it. So h of k is x of n minus k summation from minus infinity to plus infinity. Now you know that we have x of n is equal to z power n, but if you shift n minus k, then z power n minus k, right? And we know that the running sum is on k. N is working as coefficient for each term, then we just keep z power n as coefficient, and we take out of the summation. Then you can see this z power n is original signal, right? And this particular term multiplied, we represent it with, for example, h of z. Today we are going to solve what this h of z means, right? So this z variable is complex variable. That means it has some radius and it has some angle, or magnitude and angle, or radius and theta, whatever you say. So for example, if we are working on purely complex signals, purely imaginary signals, then this real part must be 1. So if we put r is equal to 1, then we get what would we get? uh, for here z we have written e to the power j omega, you can see, because now r is 1, assumed it is 1, and again z power n whole power z power n, so z is e power j omega n, so power of power, even there is power of power, both powers are multiplied, so j omega n. So this is the final output of LTI system when exponential or eigen function is applied, complex exponential input is applied. So the resultant output must be this one for discrete time system. Likewise, in convolutions, if we apply this, for example, for continuous time systems, if we apply this input to the LTI system, the output must be continuous convolution. So we have to solve this integral, and we know this x of t minus tau would be e to the power s t minus tau. So again, this e to the power st is input signal, and we are integrating over tau. So this is a coefficient we took out of that integral, and we know this is the same like input. So when you apply exponential signal or eigen function to LTI system, you get same output, same input as output, with multiplied by some arbitrary coefficient or complex coefficient. So this s is a complex number. Complex number means it has some real part and some imaginary part. So we are interested in only purely imaginary signals, imaginary exponentials. So we just want to put real part as 0. Then what we are going to get? H of j omega, because this s is replaced with j omega, delta is 0 now, and e to the power j omega t. So this is the final output what we'll be getting if we apply just a single input exponential signal then LTI system output must be this one. But we know that we represent these x of t signals in sum of complex coefficients, right? Uh, that coefficients may be extended from minus infinity to plus infinity. So there must be a way to represent those systems. Now we are just talking about continuous time system at the moment. You see, this is x of t, and we know x of t can be represented by summation k from minus infinity to infinity, ak e to the power j k omega naught. Now you see, each time means the frequency is changing, and here we see the frequency was fixed, right? So now if there is omega naught, then h of j omega naught would be there. If there is 2 omega naught, then h of j2 omega would be there. If there is jk omega naught, then h of jk omega naught would be there, right? So the resultant output must be sum of ak component, multiplication of ak component with h of jk omega naught. That would be coefficients for LTI system when more than one input or exponential signal is given input to LTI system. The resultant output must also have some AK coefficients. We don't want to represent AK, we want to represent BK, and those BK of LTI system must be equal to AKH of JK omega naught. And remember one thing, that the time period of this output would always be equal to the time period of input. This is a necessary condition. Okay, so let us take an example and see if it is really true. Okay, so consider a periodic signal. We have solved this signal. X of t is equal to k from minus 3 to plus 3, a k to the power j k 2 pi t. You see, omega naught value is now 2 pi, right? When omega naught value is 2 pi, what should be the value of t? Okay, you can solve it. T is equal to 2 pi by omega naught, and you will get 1, right? Okay, and these values are also given in the problem. That means these AK coefficients, we don't need to solve them. They are already known, right? A naught is equal to 1, A1 is equal to A inverse of 1 upon 4, and A2 is equal to, means whatever the value is at K2, that is same at minus 2, 1 upon 2, and so on. And we are now given with an additional term, that is h of t, means the impulse response of the system is also given. What does that mean is, if we have a system x of t, system, we have input x of t, right? And if we apply it to this LTI system, then its impulse response h of t is convolved, needs to be convolved with it, right? Like we see in eigenfunction, and we get an output, right? That is y of t. So the LTI system has output is always convolution of its impulse response and input. So compute the output of LTI system. Okay, let's see then how can we compute it. We know that h of t is equal to e to the power minus t u of t. It is given in the system. Now we know AK components because they are already known. What else is required? You see here, we need input signal. So we are already done with it. Now we want to compute this h of j omega, and you see, if we put h of j omega, you can see here, wherever there is s, we want to put, we will put j omega. Then h of j omega would be integration from minus infinity to infinity x of h of t e to the power minus st dt, right? So our h of j omega naught is equal to from minus infinity to infinity. Now we know we want to change the running variable from t to tau. So e power minus tau u of tau e to the power minus j omega naught tau d tau. you know this u of t only exists from 0 to infinity, and its amplitude is always 1, right? This u of t. So when you multiply any signal with 1, you get the same signal, but that signal would be now limited from 0 to infinity. So this minus infinity to minus 1, or minus infinity to 0, the signal resultant output would be 0. So there would be no area under the curve. So we have changed this integral from 0 to infinity, and you see u of t, u of tau is gone now. Okay. If you know, if the base are same, the power are added. So this would be e to the power minus tau minus j omega naught tau, right? And if you take minus and tau as common, what is left is 1 plus j omega naught. So minus bracket 1 plus j omega naught tau. Okay, we have already talked about it. If there is a function like e to the power f of x and its derivative is available as coefficient f dash of x. I want to write it very difficult. F dash of x. So the output of this would be always equal to, if you integrate it, its output would be always equal to e to the power f of x. Okay, e to the power f of x. Now look at this function, e to the power 1 plus j omega naught tau. What should be its derivative? It should be 1 minus bracket 1 plus j omega naught t, j omega naught only, because t would be gone now if you take derivative of this function only. Sorry, this function. So I want to multiply that derivative and divide as well. There will be no difference in the equation. Still, we have, this must be plus, right? So now if you, I am only interested in this part of the signal. So this must be, I am taking it as a common, and I am putting it outside of the integral sign, because there is no tau involved here, so I can do that. You know, it's a basic integration. So because now we have a derivative and e to the power original function, so its derivation must be e to the power minus 1 plus j omega naught tau from 0 to infinity, right? Now if you input the limits, upper limit minus lower limit, this is how we solve integral. This is coefficient. I have haven't changed it. So upper limit, you can see if you multiply tau, upper limit is infinity. So infinity multiplied by minus is minus infinity, right? And when tau is 0, minus when tau is 0, then what should be the output? 0 multiplied by anything is 0, and e power 0 is 1. Okay. So e to the power minus infinity is always 0. We have talked about it in previous classes why it is 0. Okay, then what we are left with is minus 1, and this minus, when these two minus are multiplied, the output would be plus. So the impulse response of the system at any particular frequency is 1 upon 1 plus j omega naught, right? And we know that omega naught is 2 pi. So h of j2 pi must be equal to 1 upon 1 plus j2 pi. So each time, you know, what was the original equation? If you see, now we have to multiply ak with h of jk omega naught. For example, if k is 1 here, then we would be multiplying h of j omega naught only, right? If k is 2 here, then we would be multiplying h of j2 omega naught. What does that mean? So we know that bk coefficients means the output, the coefficients of LTI system, output of the LTI system is a naught h of j omega naught. Now if you see 1 upon 1 plus j2 pi, 2 pi is the value of omega naught, and multiply by 0. When you multiply anything when you multiply anything with 0, you get 0. So h b naught must be equal to 1 as it was in input a naught was 1, right? Now for b1 it is equal to a1 multiplied by h of j omega naught. So we know a naught was 1 upon 4, and if you compute h of j omega naught, omega, we know omega naught value is 2 pi. It's given in the problem, so we just need to input that value. So this is equal to b1. For b2 is equal to ak h of jk omega naught. So a2 h of j2 omega naught. So you can see the output was 1 upon j2 pi, and if you multiply k, now k is 2 here, then 2 to the 4, so 1 upon 1 plus j4 pi, and so on. b3 was, I think, 1 upon 3, so 3 multiplied by 2 is 6, so this is value of b3. For b minus 1, you just need to negate it, because when you multiply minus k with 2 pi, you will always get minus result. So for b minus 1, a1 was the same, like a1 and a minus 1 values were same. If you recall the given problem, you see a1 and a minus 1 had 1 upon 4 value. So b minus 1 is equal to a minus 1, and a minus 1 is 1 upon 4. H of minus j omega naught, now you can see here minus, because 1 plus j omega naught. So now, because we are summing many exponentials together, this is just for omega naught, but if we multiply k here, and that k should be multiplied here too, because now we are dealing with more than one complex exponential signals. This is for one, only just one complex exponential signal when omega naught is the angular frequency. But now we are dealing with many exponential signals which are combined together, so we need to change this h of j omega as well into h of j k omega naught. Now when k is minus 1, so k must be multiplied with omega naught 2, so minus 1 multiplied by 2 pi is minus j2 pi. You can see minus j2 pi here. Likewise, when k is minus 2, this minus 2 multiplied by 2 pi is minus 4 pi, so 1 upon minus j4. This is how we can represent the AK coefficient for LTI system. Now from here we can say that the output of the LTI system is, or AK coefficients of output of LTI system are multiplication of AK coefficients of input and the complex coefficient produced by impulse response of the system, right? So the resultant AK coefficients are, we represent it with BK. I just changed the sign because there must not be any confusion. So these frequency spectral coefficients are equal to AK multiplied by h of jk omega naught for output. So this is for continuous time signals only. What about Fourier output of LTI system when system is discrete, right? For discrete time signals? So we know we represent x of n, we can represent it, and this must always be periodic, right? It must always be periodic. If we have we can represent omega in if omega naught is equal to rational number, then we can say that this signal is periodic, otherwise not. So if this is input, then resultant output must be equal to AK h of e to the power jk 2 pi by n multiply by, this is the formula, right, for computing output of LTI systems, right? So I did nothing, just I have replaced h of z with h of e to the power jk2 pi by n, right? Nothing else. So these are now from here to here. If you compare it, these terms are now bk coefficient for discrete time signals. When input is discrete time signal to a discrete time system, the resultant output must be equal to this particular signal, and these are bk coefficient, means spectral coefficient for output of LTI system, right? When zk is replaced with e to the power jk2 pi by n, we have replaced e to the power jk2 pi by n because we know that the resultant output must always be periodic. So whatever the value of n is now here, for example, I assume n equal to 4, then after 4 samples the output must be this is, that's why it is written as e to the power jk2 pi by nothing else. So for considering an example, consider an LTI system with impulse response. Now whenever you must memorize it that h of n is impulse response of the system. What system? That we draw like this. Whenever I say we apply input from here, so something is done from the system, that something is impulse response of the system, and it is represented by h of n. So now for this particular LTI system, what does it do? It just multiply any, involve any input with a power n u of n, and a is between -1 and 1. So means it's if you plot this a power n u of n, it would be vibrating between minus and plus values, right? And it would be decreasing as you increase n with input. So this is the impulse response of the system, and this is the input that is applied, right? Now you know cos theta is equal to e power j theta plus e to the power minus j theta upon 2. So this is theta for our input, right? So I can write x of n is equal to this one, you know, e to the power j theta plus e to the power minus j theta upon 2, right? Okay. Now we want to compute h of e to the power j omega for this signal. Then that must be equal to a power n, right? E to the power minus j omega n. If you remember, this equation, right? If you replace h of, if you replace z with, if you replace z with e to the power j omega, then you will get h of k e to the power minus j omega k, right? So you can see here h of k. Now I am using n as running variable, then you can see the k is replaced with n and e to the power minus j omega n, right? Here is minus. So minus k, then there must be minus n, then e to the power minus j omega k. So here must be e to the power minus j omega n. And this is from 0 to infinity. Why this is from 0 to infinity? Because you can see u of n is multiplied with a of n. Now I don't want to write it and then solve it, because we have solved it many times. A power n u of n means this a power n must exist from 0 to infinity because of this u of n. So a of n summation is now from 0 to infinity. You can see original summation was from minus infinity to plus infinity. That's from minus infinity to plus infinity. But because h of k is multiplied with u of n, then we can easily conclude that a power n must exist from n from 0 to infinity, right? Okay. So now, can we rewrite it as a e to the power minus j omega whole power n? Now this n is on these both terms. So x power y whole power n is equal to x power n y power n, right? So law of powers of powers. And we know this type of value, that if this is, for example, any value for example, alpha, then if running sum is from 0 to infinity a power n, then that is equal to 1 upon 1 minus a, right? So now our alpha is a e to the power minus j omega. Then this alpha must be replaced with 1 upon 1 minus alpha. Then alpha's value must be substituted a e to the power minus j omega. So this is the output of x h of e to the power j omega, or this is the frequency response for this particular impulse. This is the frequency response of this impulse function, right? Now we need to multiply it with ak components, right? So y of n is equal to 1 upon 2 h e to the power j omega n, e to the power j omega n. This frequency is matched now, plus 1 upon 2 h of e to the power minus j omega n, because this k value is minus here, right? If you compare with original equation, ak h of jk omega naught e to the power j2 pi by jk2 pi by capital N times n. Now, what should be the output of this value? E to the power j2 pi by n means k is 1. So the output must be equal to 1 upon 1 minus ae minus j2 pi by n. So did nothing but substituted the value of h e to the power j2 pi n. Moreover, when k is equal to minus 1, then this minus multiplied with minus k, then that would be output would be plus. So 1 upon 1 minus a e to the power j2 pi by n, right? And this value e to the power minus j2 by n. Now we want to because this looks very ugly. It's not a very beautiful signal. So we want to take certain assumptions. For example, if I say r e to the power j theta is equal to 1 upon 1 minus a e power j2 pi by n, then r e to the power minus j theta must be equal to 1 upon 1 minus a e to the power minus j2 pi by n. So substituting these values, we would get 1 upon 2 for this whole term. For this whole term, we would substitute r e j theta, right? And for this whole term, r e to the power minus j theta. So we know r is multiplying with both terms, then we can take r as common term. And if base are same, power are to be added. So e power j 2 pi by n small n plus j theta, and j is multiplied with these both terms, so I took j as a common term, right? And these are both are in negative, so I took minus j as common. So what we are left with is 2 pi by n plus 5. Now if you compare it, e to the power j theta plus e to the power minus j theta, and 1 upon 2 is available here, that should be equal to r cos and this theta, 2 pi by capital N times n plus 5. So this is the final output. And if you want to further solve it, and let's assume if n is equal to 4, then r e to the power j theta must be equal to 1 upon 1 minus a e to the power minus j2 pi by, now n is replaced with 4. And if you solve it, this must be equal to e power j theta is equal to cos theta plus j sin theta. So cos minus pi by 2 plus j sin minus pi by 2. We know cos is 0, 8 minus pi by 2, 3 pi by 2 and so on. But sin at minus pi by 2 is minus 1, right? It's an odd function. So sin of minus theta is equal to minus sin theta. So pi by 2 is 1, then it's multiplied with minus 1, then we get minus 1. Minus 1 multiplied by j is minus j, right? So if we get minus j from this way, this complete term, exponential term, then minus j multiplied with minus a is plus aj, right? And if you are interested in computing magnitude and phase, so magnitude must be equal to under root real coefficient of real number squared plus coefficient of imaginary numbers coefficient squared, right? If you see then what is real number here? 1. And what is coefficient for imaginary number? A. So 1 square plus a square whole under root. This is magnitude. And if you compute angle, that must be equal to minus tangent imaginary over real, right? So imaginary coefficient is a, and a divided by 1 is again a. So minus tangent inverse a. We always show angle on power of exponent. Compare this with this equation. This is magnitude always multiplied with angle. Right? So I have represented angle here. Now, if angle is this one for this term, so angle must be replaced here, and r need to be replaced. Our magnitude must be replaced here. So we will be getting y of n is equal to r. Now you see, instead of r, I have written 1 upon under root 1 plus a square cos, and instead of theta minus tangent inverse of alpha. So this is the final output for LTI system, whose impulse response is a power n u of n, and the input is a cosine function. Then if n is assumed as 4, means after each 4 indexes, the output must be repeated, and the output must be of this fashion. Right? Okay, now we are coming to the most important aspects of any signal processing course, that is called filtering. Filtering has two types. Now, what is filtering? What is a filtering? For example, if I ask you to categorize your class into two parts, those students who has height from greater than 5.5 feet, right? 5 feet 5 inches, from those who has height less than that. So what you would do, you would categorize into two. I say select only students whose height is greater than 5 feet 5 inches. Then you would be measuring the height of each student, and if his or her height is greater than 5.5, you would accept it as the success, and if his or her height is less than 5.5, you would reject it. So same kind of concept is being followed in filtering in signals as well. The signals with a particular frequency are selected and others are rejected. So that is actually filtering. In filtering, we have two types: frequency selective filters and frequency shaping filters. Now, what does these jargons means? We will come to see what are those terms. So, what is the definition of filtering? In variety of applications, it is of interest to change the relative amplitudes of frequency components in a signal or perhaps eliminate some frequency components entirely. This process is referred as filtering. So means if you are changing the behavior of signal or if you are removing some components of frequency, these both can be done through filtering. So if you want to change the behavior of signal or you want to eliminate some frequency ranges, you have to use filtering then, right? So this is the basic definition. There are two types of filtering as we discussed. Frequency selective filtering means we would be selecting some frequencies, rejecting others, and other is frequency shaping filter. For example, in audio processing, you want to change the bass or trembling of a song, that is frequency shaping filter. Or equalizing, you want to reduce the noise and improve the quality, can also be done. Right? This is frequency selective filtering, and frequency shaping filtering is changing the frequency components of a system. This is an example of frequency shaping filter. For example, we have a system which comprises of 3 subsystems connected in parallel. Right? And first system is connected with switch. If you switch it on, for example, then this particular behavior must be multiplied with the input signal. And if it is off, for example, then this particular frequency component must be multiplied with this, or this behavior of the system must be multiplied with the input. This is first system, right? So there are 3 frequency selective components are cascaded with input. So this is our complete system, and there are 3 frequency selective filters multiplied. And second one is tune circuit. If you increase the volume, for example, if you, for example, in a radio, you see there is a button. If you increase, then the output must, the frequencies must be relatively multiplied, and if you reduce the frequency, then this fashion must be multiplied with the output. And there is no button or scroll bar available here. This is just a constant. This is a just constant multiplicative signal. For example, if there at 600, the minimal output must be multiplied with input signal, and for around 30, 40, and whatever this scale is, the maximum frequency component must be multiplied with the input signal. So means you are just changing the frequency relatively, right? So these 3 systems, when input is applied, the output, resultant output must pass through these all subcomponents and are all frequency shaping filters. Okay, basic example of frequency shaping filter. For example, that differentiation filters are an example of frequency shaping filter. For example, if we have signal x e to the power j omega t, and output is d by dt of x of t, means the derivative of this signal. So what should be the derivative of this signal? E to the power j omega t, j omega. So our h of j omega must be differentiation factor. If you want to, this j is always, we can represent it with e to the power j pi by 2, because this must be equal to cos pi plus j sin pi, and sorry, cos pi by 2 plus j sin pi by 2, then we will be only getting j from here. So we can always rewrite this value as this one, and we know we have always magnitude here and theta here. So absolute h of j omega is equal to absolute of omega, and angle is equal to pi by 2, right? So if you plot it for positive and negative values, it must always be positive, and for omega equal to 0, this must be 0. For example, for omega is equal to pi, the output must be also pi. For minus pi, the output must also be pi. So this will be from in negative axis it will be linearly decreasing, and from 0 to onwards it will be linearly increasing, right? What about angle? Angle is fixed. You see, angle is fixed here, pi by 2. So whenever, for example, if I want to plot h of j omega, when there is change in, if j omega must be like this one, right? We are computing just magnitude here, so that is positive. Whenever there is from value output of the signal, when change from minus to plus or plus to minus, there is a shift of pi in the signal. So for example, if initially the angle was pi by 2, when there is a shift of 90 degree, then that 90 degree shift should also be reflected. So from minus infinity to 0, it is minus pi by 2, and because there is a shift in the amplitude of signal from minus to plus, then there must be a shift in angle. So minus pi by 2 plus pi is pi by 2. So then we get a constant phase, right? The output of the filter can be shown here. This is the original image, and we are filtering it with two frequency components, one for x-axis and another for y-axis, and you can see the edges are now very clear. So filtered image is a bit clear. So we have shaped the we have changed the shape of the signal, you can see here, and this was not looking very clear. You can see this is just working on edges. When there is edge between black and white, that is glown, because this is a differentiating filter. It only sharpen the changes. So where there are many changes, you can see the images are brighter. When there are less changes, the image is not brighter. Second category. First category of frequency shaping filters. This is frequency selective filters, not shaping filters, selective filters. Here, continue with example. I think for discrete only. Frequency shaping filter for discrete time signals. Right. So for example, this is the output of the signal x of n and one delayed version of it. That means h of n must be equal to delta n plus delta n minus 1. So h of e to the power j omega must be equal to, always remember the if you compute the frequency spectrum of delta n, that is 1, and if it is delayed, so minus j omega naught. So we represent it, if it is j omega, then it is also j omega. So if you take common e to the power minus j omega by 2, what would be left is this one would be replaced with e to the power j omega by 2 plus e to the power minus j omega by 2. Now this is cos pi by 2 e to the power minus j pi by 2. So this is magnitude, this must be magnitude, and minus j omega by 2 must be angle of the system. Cos pi by 2, so if you plot cos omega by 2, if omega is for example 2 pi, then if we put omega is equal to 2 pi, the output must be 2 pi by 2 is pi. For cos pi, the output is, for example, just let's start from 0 index. If omega is 0, the output must be 1, right? And if omega is pi, this pi, then pi by 2 is 0, right? And minus pi by 2 is also 0. So the plot would be, magnitude plot must be like this. And angle is minus omega by 2. So if omega is minus pi, the output must be minus into minus plus pi by 2, right? So plus pi by 2. And when omega is 0, the phase is 0. When omega is pi, the output is minus pi by 2. So this is linear phase. Okay. Now we come to our second part of filtering, that is frequency selective filtering. And I think time is short now. We stop here. In next class we'll be discussing frequency selective filters and Fourier transform.